Dr. Commonwealth to Dr. Skitty. Zelda needs treatment as we have a story problem. But first, we need to diagnose what went wrong with Tears so that the next Zelda game can avoid the same traps. So be sure to press that like and notification bell buttons. Tears of the Kingdom, despite a solid opening and ending, tore down any hopes of cohesive and involving storytelling, doubling down on the memories from Breath of the Wild and somehow made them even worse due to how they were located and told.
It was a controversial choice to set most of the main story 100 years in the past in Breath of the Wild, but it was at least possible to understand why they handled it that way. Link had amnesia, and the player was discovering the details of his past alongside him. In Tears, there is no reason to set a story in the past and deliver it through memories aside from the simple fact that that's what Breath of the Wild did. The problem is that the memories in Breath of the Wild were more about fleshing out the characters, while the Tears of the Kingdom memories were trying to tell a linear story out of order. This was a problem, since certain memories can spoil key story developments early in the game, like this memory near the intended first dungeon. While yes, you can see the order of the memories in the Forgotten Temple, why have them play out of order in the first place? The geoglyphs don't correspond to the locations where the memory took place at all, so why not just play them in order as you discover them? Our only real location-specific cutscenes are the ones after the boss fights, and I think we're all familiar with the problem with those scenes by now.
Demon King, Secret Stone, Demon King, Secret Stone. Secret Stone? Demon King? Second floor basement, Psycho Mantis.
A mess of a repetition provided by two generations of sages, or more precisely, distant past sages wearing the masks of the later divine beasts, thus killing our personality. We don't get to know their names or faces until Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, a $70 spin-off aimed to finish the story of the $70 Tears of the Kingdom, $80 on the Switch 2 in 4K. Where we instead have to deal with Ganondorf's puppet Zelda, who we already know before departing Great Sky Island is not our Zelda, as she is in the past with the recalled decayed Master Sword. The main plot device causing trouble on the path to the dungeons, exposed before even showing up. And definitely by the time you saw the dagger geoglyph and Tear outside occupied Lorelei. There are many other problems with the story of Tears, like way too many NPCs failing to recognize the hero of the wild, despite being the one who took down the Calamity canonically, and so on. Anyway, we have a patient to heal, and luckily we have several solutions for the next game. Most of all, we are prescribing a change of scenery. It's time to leave Hyrule, or at least radically change it, and the time we play in. As much as we like the hero of the wild, we cannot have the same Link and art style in yet another generation and only a new map/land to explore. Enough is enough. If we want a fresh start with a solid story, then the reveal of a brand new Link is mandatory. A quest that preferably will have no or very little time traveling involved, not just a concluding act of events 100 years ago or in the distant past.
A story set in the present would give our audience some actual stakes with characters we actually care about. We cannot have a third mainline Zelda game in a row with a less involved story than its respective Hyrule Warriors game. The story shouldn't be treated as an afterthought, and engaging storytelling isn't the price we need to pay in exchange for player freedom. You can have both. The thing that made Breath of the Wild so revolutionary was its rejection of the linear structure that had characterized past Zelda games. But now that freedom is the structure. It might seem counterintuitive, but adding restrictions strategically can make you feel more free. You could have a world that you're free to explore, but that also gradually opens up to reveal a larger story. You could even have your choice of which area to explore next, and the events of the story could change based on the path you choose until you've seen the whole map, giving the game time to gradually build up the player as the hero and also to develop a villain. So many players think they want freedom, but truly free play isn't a game. Games have rules. And for as much fun as people can have in a sandbox, it's the curated, well-designed aspects of Zelda games that keep people coming back years and even decades later. An open-world game with a linear story gives you the best of both worlds.
In fact, we have a brilliant recent example of gameplay/story balance, namely Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. A title where the later half can be done completely out of order but still has the same outcome, the villain taking over to create a path to the ultimate power. A part of the game that finally brought back the creators and highest deities in Zelda, the 3 golden goddesses. This is how you do a backstory, by detailing the hidden truth of the creation of the world and the evil or threat we're up against. And look at the gameplay and freedom Echoes offered. It blended the traditional Zelda story structure with the non-linearity and creative gameplay of Breath and Tears, in the process offering a better balance. as the latest Zelda game treated storytelling, open world exploration, and gameplay freedom with the same level of respect. A Triforce, if you will. One that Grezzo has claimed, but the Zelda team at Nintendo haven't been able to reclaim in a long time. In other words, the next Zelda game should learn from Echoes. Not only did it provide the most exciting and action-packed opening in the series, and an ending that rivals Tears, but also a clear guideline on how to tell a compelling story in the modern age. Freedom, but not sacrificing a good tale that will stick with the player after the end credits. Yes, it is in the top-down downfall timeline before Zelda 1, but its backstory predates even the ones provided in Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time.
Playing as Zelda, we are addressed directly by the three golden goddesses, Din, Nehru, and Faror. Together, they gradually reveal the reason for the creation of the world and the Triforce. This 2D top-down Grezzo game has an infinitely more interesting creation story than the confusing, contradictory, quote-unquote founding of Hyrule we see in Tears of the Kingdom. Taro Hamamoto was willing to take risks with the writing, and a new open-air game should follow in Echo's footsteps when it hits the Nintendo Switch 2 in a few years. Bringing Taro Hamamoto in from Grezzo parallels Breath and Tears director Hidemaru Fujibayashi's origins at Capcom. Before he was brought on to write the scenario for, and eventually direct, he breathed new life into Zelda stories in the Minish Cap and eventually in Skyward Sword. Sadly, he, just like Nintendo's original genius storywriter Yoshiaki Koizumi, moved to focus on directing rather than writing. And since then, the writing of 3D Zelda has gone downhill, to the point where Tears of the Kingdom didn't have a credited script supervisor at all, and the writing itself seems to have been outsourced. Not to Monolith Soft, who probably would have done a great job based on the popularity of the Xenoblade series, but rather to Qualia Writers, a company primarily known for their work on mobile games.
Well, there's only one treatment that can heal the mess that is outsourcing caused. Let the story-writing genius Hidemaru Fujibayashi not only direct, but also write the stories of Zelda games again. Or bring Taro Hamamoto to be the event/script lead, / let him cook for the next open-air Zelda game. We know this isn't tradition, but why not once again defy established conventions? Introducing a Link that isn't from Hyrule, but rather a different land or even kingdom. Yes, technically the hero of Twilight was from the neighboring Ordona, but his blood was of the hero of Time from Hyrule. What we're pointing to here is a Link who at least isn't born or grows up in Hyrule, but still rises to the occasion. First in his homeland, and then in the next game a Hyrule in a completely different time than we had in Breath and Tears. A true Zelda unknown, set in a new country, and then followed by a Hyrule sequel sometime in the 2030s. This and a more compact new world and map would allow for more streamlined storytelling through cutscenes and NPCs, a recipe that once and for all addressed the criticism of both Breath's and Tears' vast territories being too empty in places, with entire regions sidelined from the main quest. Think Akala, which in many ways feels like a foreign land, which holds so much potential for main quest activities.
A Zelda game set in Hyrule could still be interesting, with the right characters, villains, quests, dungeons, and pacing. We've seen iterations on the same map done successfully, from A Link to the Past to Echoes of Wisdom. We could even see another Great Flood turning Wild-era Hyrule into another Great Sea, dotted with islands. I'm not saying it. Make no mistake though, what we're really long overdue for is another adventure that takes us beyond Hyrule's borders. And we know this can work. Look no further than Majora's Mask and its setting in the land of Termina. This was a whole new world to explore, with a compelling new set of characters that we didn't come into the game attached to, but who we became invested in due to their tragic circumstances. Story writing doesn't have to be complex to be memorable, and you can tell stories through more than just the main plot. In Majora, there were the side quests that fleshed out its characters. This was a mingling of gameplay and story that worked to reinforce the overall mood and themes of the game in a way we haven't really seen since. Majora itself is also a fantastic villain, a truly ancient evil that takes advantage of the weak and then disposes of them without a second thought when they're no longer useful. Everyone in Termina is affected by Majora's evil plan, as the inevitable death by moon grows closer each second.
Majora also had one of the best settlements in this series, Clocktown, where much of the game's main quest, and with its story unfolded. A place with the most complex NPCs, side quests, and a variety that remains unrivaled to this day. The next Zelda game, if set in a brand new land, should take Majora as an example and provide a new world that we'll fall in love with, and a story that will keep us on our toes and heartstrings as people die and struggle in the present, right in front of us, not in a cutscene set 100 or 100,000 years ago. Storytelling that is powerful here and now, with an active brand new villain that shows up in person and who we will love to hate. A more linear quest will integrate gameplay into the story. Character progression alongside story progression, without repetition in a world that is brand new to all of us. The potential is there, as Majora for a large part reused the NPCs from Ocarina of Time, while this game, outside of Hyrule, can be 100% fresh, with brand new NPCs, settlements, and dare I say, main story city that has no equal. That is the medicine and treatment that the next Zelda game can provide to heal the story problem that 3D Zelda is facing. But with that said, we want to hear how you would heal Zelda when it comes to the story, so sound off in the comment section down below. A great thanks to Skittybitty for joining us in this crucial video, but where can we find you?
Thanks so much for having me. You can find me on my channel where I'm working on my Breath of the Wild video, or you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky.
So be sure to press that like button and those subscribe and notification bell buttons for both of our channels. Last but not least, a big thanks to you for watching and to patreon.com/commonrealm patrons. Shoutouts go to road producer JC Funk and heroes Cheryl, Garrett Hoy, Holly Wolf and Kintaro. You all rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.